verses 28 through 37. Then said Jesus unto them, When ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall ye know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Father hath taught me, I speak these things. And he that sent me is with me. The Father hath not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. And he spake these words, and as he spake these words, many believed on him. Then said Jesus to those Jews which believed on him, If ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And they answered him, We be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, Ye shall be made free? Jesus answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. When Jesus was talking about freedom, it's almost, for most of the history of this world, freedom is almost an oxymoron. It's just people did not get, you didn't get freedom. If you lived in England in the 1700s, were you free? No, you did what the king told you to do. If you were in France, you did what the king told you to do. Any part of the world, you were under the thumb of the king. So much so that they would tell you where to live, what occupation, and you just didn't have freedom. It wasn't. It is not natural for man to be free. Why? Have you figured out why? One of the first points that I'm going to make is freedom is fundamental. But why is freedom not natural? It's fundamental, but why is it not natural? Why can't everyone be alike? Why can't everyone just be content with who and what they are? Because our sin nature says, I like your Mustang. I'm going to take your Mustang, okay? So he just got his new Mustang, and if you haven't had a ride in it after church, he'll gladly take you for a thunderous ride up and down the road. But you see, so I look at his car and go, I like it. I want it. Is that a godly nature? No, that's our sin nature. And as the world is mostly unsaved, that sin nature takes over. And so freedom is fundamental. We're going to look at that, what God said. But folks, it doesn't come naturally. And in our society, we've lost sight of that. So in the movie Braveheart, William Wallace famously said, They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. And then Paul's words in Galatians 5:1 said, Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free. So when we talk about freedom, I want us to understand that it's a biblical concept. Freedom is fundamental. It's a basic gift from God. Right in the very beginning, remember Genesis 1:26? God made us in his image and in his likeness. We lose sight of that, don't we? Now, does that mean God looks like me? Of course, okay? That's not what it says, okay? But then he gave us his nature, and with that was the freedom. So when he said in Genesis chapter 2, verses 16 and 17, he put man in the garden and he said, You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So he gave them what? What was that? Freedom. That was freedom. They had the freedom. They had the freedom to choose. Now some people say, what if God hadn't done that? What if he didn't just put that one, what if he just took that away? Adam and Eve would never have had the ability to choose to follow God. Now, I don't like the fact that they chose poorly. That has affected this entire world. It affects you and me. But God gave them freedom. Did they choose well? No. They choose poorly. Unless we condemn them too harshly, what do we find that most people today are choosing? They're not choosing very wisely. And I'm not even talking about the world in general. I'm even talking Christians. We are not often choosing wisely. Do you pray each night that the Lord will give you wisdom, that you'll make good choices? I've preached on this in the past. What's the best definition I've heard of wisdom? Remember, God's word said, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth all men freely and upbraideth not. He doesn't hold it back. What is wisdom? Wisdom responding in a godly manner. He's thinking in a godly manner. His responses are in a godly manner. That's wisdom. How about your conversations yesterday? Did you meet many people where the conversations were wise? They were laced with godly wisdom. Folks, may we use that wisdom, may we ask for that wisdom and use it. But freedom is a basic gift from God. On the Jefferson Memorial reflect the truth that God who gave us life gave us liberty at the same time. That's an interesting quote, isn't it? He gave us life, but he also gave us liberty. God made us to be free to obey him or to disobey him, free to love him or not to love him. That is unbelievable freedom. If you were the creator of this world, would you have given your creatures, your people that you created, freedom to reject you? I wouldn't. I'm just telling you my nature. You don't get that choice. You choose that choice, boing, you just explode with your God. God didn't do that. He gave us the freedom. And he didn't just give Adam and Eve that freedom. He gives you and me that freedom every day to decide to follow him or not. Now, if you're not a Christian, bear with me just a second. If you're not a Christian, how many natures do you have in your life? You only have one. You have the old nature, the Adamic nature, the sinful nature. And we're all well acquainted with that. Now, when you get saved, does that old nature just go away? No, but you get a new nature. Now you have two natures. You have the old nature and you have the new nature. And you know what you get to do every single day? You get to decide which nature you're going to follow. And the more you follow your godly nature, and the more you feed your godly nature, and how do you feed your godly nature? You sit there and say, oh man. No. You read God's Word. As you're reading God's Word, that is God speaking to you. And it's feeding your new nature. And as you feed your new nature, your new nature becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And when situations arise, you consistently respond in a more godly manner. The old nature begins to shrink. Now, as Southern Methodists, we have a little doctrine that we talk about perfection. Okay? Have you ever met a perfect person? No, but in theory, here's what the Southern Methodists are saying. Okay? Be careful with this. It's an interpretation of Scripture. The more you feed your godly new nature, the less influence you have from the old nature until finally you can't even find the old nature and everything is done with the new nature. Now, isn't that the goal of every Christian? That every response you have should be from your new nature. The old nature's there, but no one can find it anymore. Okay? And that's in reality, have you met anyone like that? Hey, I know you met one like that. Me. Right? Is that true? No. I've shared with you my responses to my old nature kicks in, and it kicks in when I least expect it, least want it, and it takes me sometimes a second to recognize it, that, ooh, that's the old nature. I need a new nature to kick in. Okay, and I have to respond to it again. So, this gift of freedom is not without consequences. As we know from what transpired in the garden, after the fall into sin and the slavery to sin, God promised to deliver a Savior, which we now know as Jesus Christ. Luke 4 tells us that he stood in the synagogue and proclaimed liberty to the captives. Who were the captives? Were it chains? No. They were the captives of Satan in the name of religion. What a sobering thought. These were the Jews, and they were slaves to Satan and didn't even know. And he taught them about liberty. And then he said, as we just read, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Now, when he said free, you're free from the bondage of sin. You're free from the control of sin. Are you free from sin? No, you still can sin. So obviously that freedom does not mean you have a license to do whatever we desire. You know there are people, there are preachers that teach that we're so free that now we can go out and sin every day and do it without consequence. Because at the end of the day, we just say, Jesus, forgive me, I sinned. don't want what you have. They already have that, right? No, he wants you to act like a Christian because of the choice. You choose to do that. So, obviously this kind of freedom does not mean we have a license to do whatever we desire. It is not a freedom to do what we want, but a freedom to do what we ought. Did you hear that? It's not a freedom to do what we want, but a freedom to do what we ought to do. Freedom to do what is right. And that freedom is foundational to our Christian faith. Freedom is also foundational. Remember, we're talking about freedom is fundamental. Freedom is also foundational to America. Our Declaration of Independence eloquently states, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Can you think of another country that has that motto as a cornerstone of their country? We hold these truths to be what? Self-evident. You don't even have to be a whiz-bang intelligent person. We know that, and what are they? That all men are created equal. When that baby comes out of the womb, does it come with special privileges? It's the same baby, same brain, same, as any other baby. And they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. By the way, that pursuit of happiness is not socialism. That's not saying, let's make everybody happy. That pursuit of happiness literally is translated, you have the ability to make your own destiny. You own land. That wasn't done in most other parts of the world up until this time. Folks, the freedom that we've enjoyed in America is exceptional. And we're going to say it's fundamental. And God is not only the author of our freedom as individuals, but also of our nation. And we're losing sight of that, especially with our young people. Especially, I'm usually saying people under 25. Now I'm finding people under 35. Now I'm going to go so far as to say many people under 45 do not understand the freedoms of our nation. So in Romans 13:1, the God who ordained freedom for the individual is the same God who ordained the institution of the government. Now, when I read, what is the purpose of government? It's to prosper every man, right? You don't find that scripture. It's to distribute wealth amongst everyone. You don't find that in scripture. Genesis to Revelation, when you find government, it's to protect the people. It's to protect them. Now, what do you need protection from? You need protection from evil people. Now, what's really sad is when our government becomes evil and the people need protection from their government. That's not, we're really off kilter here, okay? But now, God created us as free beings, and God created government. Doesn't it make sense that He would want us to experience freedom in the context of a nation? And that's what America's founding fathers believed. They drafted a social compact on the foundations of our God-given freedom, forming a government that seeks to protect and defend individual rights as granted by God. Obviously, the founding fathers were extremely successful. This was an experiment, it literally was called an experiment, that had not been done anywhere else in the world. You don't give people the ability to govern themselves. It's only been done one time in history before America. Anyone know what that was? When was that? You remember? I think it's exceptional. In the Old Testament.
You're talking about the time between the fall and the flood.
The time just before the first good, and then he did, and then all sorts of things happened to Israel as a result of that. Okay? So today, aside from our founding document being laced with words referencing Almighty God, where did our founders possibly get the concepts of rights of the people? Did they get it from England? Did they get it from France? Did they get it from Italy? Where did they get it from? No. They got it from the Bible. Even those that did not believe as strongly as you would have liked about salvation through Jesus Christ did believe in the book of Genesis that man was made in the image of God that would remain free and free to choose. You know, when we talk about a biblical foundation, a lot of people are saying, well, not all of those founders were Christian men and women. That is true, that they weren't all Christian, okay? But they had a belief in God, and they believed the Bible. It was kind of like, do you ever watch Andy Griffith on TV? That's my role when I go to sleep one day. It's just a little truth and a little humor, a little funny. Did the sheriff wear a gun? Did Andy Taylor wear a gun? No, hardly ever. Okay, why? Because the people of Mayberry looked out for one another. Okay, and was everyone in that fictional city, were they all Christians? No, but they almost all went to church. Why? Because that was the right and moral thing to do. And our country was founded on men that believed in the God of the Bible. They didn't all believe the same things about the Bible, but they believed in the God of the Bible, and they believed in the basic freedoms that come as a result of it. And today, America has been the nearest fulfillment of a God-given desire, that hope, that dream of freedom. Remember the Hebrew slave down in Egypt? Preached on that a while back. They dreamed of freedom, they prayed for freedom, they cried out for freedom. And so what did Moses say when he went to the Pharaoh? Let my people go. And what was the result? They thought they had been in bondage, and he put them in double bondage. Now they even had to go out and cut the straw and make all the stuff. Before they just had everything was provided for them. They found out that their slavery was bad, and then it got even worse, okay? But then God answered. And he broke the chains of slavery, delivered them from their oppressors, and brought them into the promised land. What an incredible reality when you study that about freedom, okay? In the beginning with the Pilgrims on the Mayflower, many oppressed people have come to America and found it to be a land of promise and a place of freedom. More so in the last 10 years than maybe ever before. And that's why we're finding them piling up at the gates wanting to come in, okay? Let me just mention this. Here's the challenge for those that are coming into our nation today and not coming in the right way. They take our freedoms for granted. And if you studied how America was founded, then you appreciate and cherish that freedom. If you just come in to abuse that freedom, then that freedom isn't going to last long. But I'll tell you, one of the things I'm finding, and I'll get this later in my notes, is many of our young people today do not have a knowledge of the history of our freedom. And if we don't understand where it came from, why it came, and what the results were, the price that was paid, we're not going to cherish our freedom. And if we have other people coming in and they're not taking the time to learn about freedom, then our freedoms are going to be diluted. I told you the story about my grandmother immigrating from Armenia. That's a fascinating story. And she gets to Racine, Wisconsin. She lives with her daughter and her husband. That's my aunt and uncle. And he tells me the story that after a year or two, they decided to take a trip to Canada. Now, my grandmother did not understand all this concept of 50 states. Where do you go in the world and find a country with 50 states, especially 60, 70 years ago? She never understood that. So they're going to Canada. You know what she thought that was? That's just another state. It's like Georgia. It's like North Carolina. And they get to the border of Canada, and they have to produce their passports. And Grandma just said, we're going to another state. And my uncle said, no, we're going to Canada. She said, isn't that another state? They said, no, that's another country. She was so appalled, she got out of the car and sat at, I'll call it a toll booth, if you've ever been to she sat right down and she said, I'll be here waiting for you when you come back. She wasn't going to risk leaving America. The concept of freedom was so precious to her. She had been oppressed. She had been sold into slavery over in Syria and Armenia, and then she escaped. You can't imagine the abuses. She wasn't going to risk losing her freedom. Not a chance. Now, of course, going to Canada, can you come back? But when she she said they might not let me back in. My uncle said, one vacation ruined. He said, there's no way I can say goodbye to my mother-in-law, say, see you in a week, so they had to turn around and come back. Folks, how many people you know that hold their freedom that dearly? Another great national symbol in our freedom is the Statue of Liberty. Emma Lazarus gave a voice to Lady Liberty, who stands with a torch lifted and says to the world, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. A closer look reveals that there are chains under the statue's feet, symbolizing liberty, crushing the chains of slavery. We take our freedom for granted, don't we? When we're done with church, we get to decide, do I want to go out to eat? Do I want to go home? Do I need to fill up the car with gas? So we can take a trip up and down. We just take all that for granted. But America is the land of the free. And the Statue of Liberty stands. We crush the chains of slavery. No other nation enjoys such great freedoms. No other nation has been blessed like America has been blessed. On the front steps of the 21st century, America continues to stand as the world's great superpower. We are the envy of the world. Now I say that. Do we have many Americans rushing to go to another country? I'm sorry, have you heard about the backlog of people wanting to get into Mexico?